Now, as Nigeria grapples with rising fuel costs and unpredictable rainfall patterns, solar-powered irrigation is becoming a beacon of hope for its farmers. The sustainable solution is helping smallholder communities move away from expensive fossil fuel-based irrigation systems, offering year-round cultivation and significant cost savings. With agriculture accounting for a major share of Nigeria's employment and food supply, analysts say solar irrigation could be a transformative tool in addressing both economic and environmental challenges. Joining me now to discuss this further is Ogungbile, who is Head of Innovation at Leon Energy and Solar Nova Energy. Kolapo, good morning. Many thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you, Habi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Well, let's begin with your assessment of the current state of irrigation infrastructure in Nigeria, particularly for smallholder farmers.
Honestly, if you think about it, it's really underdeveloped, right? But it's nothing to be sad about, right? Because the advancement of solar irrigation, which is piggybacking on renewable energy, is just driving, the adoption is just rising in Nigeria. If you think about it as well, we have over 80% of smallholder farmers that are producing what we consume in this country, and they mostly rely on rain-fed agriculture or rain-fed farming. So it's important just to understand that it's underdeveloped, but there is opportunity to scale that, across the food production value chain.
Well, talking about opportunities, what are the key economic benefits of solar irrigation in a market like Nigeria?
Yeah, if you think about it, the first one is cost savings. I believe that's the most important aspect of it. Most farmers that are currently using fossil-powered irrigation pump, they spend a lot of money on it. So the first one is cost savings for farmers. Then you can now think about productivity. When farmers have the opportunity to farm all year round, there's going to be food production will increase, and that's going to help the country move towards food security.
Right. Cost is a big issue.
Absolutely.
And of course, also many times a determining factor. How significant is the cost disparity between the solar-powered systems and traditional fuel pumps?
Yeah, at first glance, if you look at it, it's expensive, right? But over time, it's an investment that pays for itself. The first 2-3 years, farmers break even, and this product, some of them have warranty of up to 10 years. All right, so the cost might be there, but if you think about fossil-powered pump, farmers spend up to like 40% of their income to power that. I'm sure you know the cost of petrol right now. If you want to irrigate a 2-acre farmland, what that cost might look like. But thinking about it long term, farmers will definitely break even, but there is that upfront cost that, that might be an issue for adoption.
And a 10-year warranty is not so bad,
Absolutely, yeah.
Could it get a bit longer?
With R&D, with more innovation, research and development, absolutely, it can be better.
Time.
Yeah.
Well, surely it's gaining some degree of traction. I'm sure you've seen the adoption rate and you're probably monitoring it. But from a policy and investment perspective, what is driving the recent interest in solar irrigation?
Yeah, if you think about Nigeria as a country and the recent adoption in solar, I think we have amazing policies when it comes to renewable energy. Nigeria's commitment to climate, that's one. The Harrier Rural Electrification Agency is also doing a lot of work. There is the DESH program that is driving adoption of renewable energy. And if you now think about that policy and what is happening in that space, the productive use of renewable energy, which is solar powered irrigation pump and all the likes, is piggybacking on this policy. And people still think solar is still very new in Nigeria. Then think about what solar-powered irrigation pump will look like. So ultimately, the policy is really good. The most important thing is just for the right execution to make it at scale.
And what will it take? Execution is very important.
Absolutely.
Because, we hear policies, all the time. But what will it take for execution-wise? What's lacking there right now? Yeah,
so I think it's just, it's important to have coherent stakeholders, work together, right? I've mentioned policy. You have to think about innovative startups building product. You also have to think about multilateral donors. that can de-risk some of these investments into the space. Like I mentioned, it's expensive. It's still new. A lot of the models, we are still experimenting what is the best way to deploy the solar-powered irrigation pump. It's expensive. Is it going to be leased to own? Is it going to pay as you go? So there is need for some form of investment or for some of multilateral donor that will come in to de-risk that space so that it can also actually catalyze the growth. So thinking about it, apart from policy, you need private sector to work, and you also need international organization, local organization to play critical part in that.
That leads me to be a bit curious about, what your entities are doing. Adoption-wise, what have you noticed in the last, say, let's just say 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's, you can think about it. Even if you look back, as far back as 1970, Nigeria has been part of these organization to drive irrigation in the country. So there are consistent work that has been done. But recently, in the past 5 years, when you think about what the adoption has been, it's amazing. They are very excited. Once you talk to the farmers our first time about it, they're not sure. They don't really understand the power of solar and how it can actually support their farm. They want to see it, all right? So they want to see how it works, and that's one of the ways you can actually convince them to be sure that this product works and it can save you a lot of time and also help you increase your income as a farmer.
Experiential process. This is always a good way, a very natural seller in its own way. Let's talk about scaling this solution across Nigeria's agricultural sector. What challenges or barriers could exist?
Yeah, in terms of challenges or barriers, I'll go back to what I said earlier in terms of coordination amongst the key stakeholders, right? If you look at Nigeria, we have over 250 dams. We have substantial water resources. So the question is, how do we coordinate all these ministries, all these departments, from the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Water Resources, and even the Ministry of Finance? How do we combine all these ministries together and create a model, a framework to exploit these resources that we have for scale? And like I mentioned earlier, it's also important to experiment with the business model that still works. All right, it's expensive upfront. Farmers can afford to pay. Then who's going to fund it? Is there a possibility of a fund that can be created by the government where the farmers can access over a period of time and is monitored by the private sector? So there is a lot of things that can be done in terms of bringing together key stakeholders just to make sure that this can really work and can scale across the country. But in terms of the resources, we have it. We have water, substantial. We have the sun. So what else do we need?
Right, and those are very important, cogent points you highlighted, especially around costs, because that could become just a deterrent if we understand it now educationally, but who's going to pay for it? Yeah. Very legitimate question. But let's talk about food security and rural development. In relation to being educated about solar irrigation and the advantages of it, how can it contribute to national goals?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. If you think about the goals, what's the basic aspiration of a typical Nigeria? People want to have a decent job, right? People want to earn more. So if you think about the contribution to the national goals, it's going to free up time for young people. It's going to create employment for young people in rural areas. Some of these solar pumps need maintenance. You need technicians that are going to install some of this pump. You need technicians that are going to maintain this pump. So in terms of employment, the opportunities there is massive. In terms of food security, if farmers can farm all year round, you don't have to rely on rain-fed agriculture. There's resilience there. So irrespective of what is happening with the weather, with the climate, you can farm. That will increase your productivity, and you can also earn more money, as a farmer.
Now, so far, it sounds really great and lots of opportunities and advantages, but are there any downsides to it? What are some of the risks or limitations associated with relying on solar technology?
All right, yeah, to be honest, we have to admit there are some downside, right, but it can be managed. So let's say on a cloudy day right now, that can affect the use of the solar, powered pump on a cloudy day, right? But that can be mitigated with storage. Some of the pumps are designed as direct current from the panel to the pump. all right? But there are those that are designed with storage. So with the right design, I think that can be mitigated. But thinking about it on a surface level, that would be the first issue. What if there are cloudy days? How do I pump? All right, so those are one of the issues. But like I said, with the right training and designing the right kind of product, that can be managed.
Is that the only one?
Yeah, so apart from that, maybe financing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also another critical angle, to look at in terms of what that's going to look like. Yeah.
Okay, so short term, they sound like short term issues that can be fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can be managed. Yeah, it's typical for any solar project, even if not the pump. Storage is also a big part of it. And those are questions the farmers. Okay, what of it? It's cloudy. What can I do? The thing about storage is it had a cost element to what the actual cost is just going to be like.
All right. Well, let's look at something you mentioned earlier, and that's around partnerships. What role would private, public, multilateral partnerships play in driving adoption rates?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity for blended financing, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of, even if you think about agriculture in Nigeria, right? There are a lot of microfinance banks that are working in the rural areas that are really even deploying some solar product to farmers, like basic solar home systems, right? But you can't compare that cost to the cost of a solar-powered irrigation pump. So they are thinking, okay, we're doing an average of 100K, 200K. This is like $1 million. Can we do that? So that is where we need those tools that can de-risk some of this financing, for these farmers to come in. The importance of the partnership there, which are, and I think some organizations, some international organizations are coming in, but we also need the government to lead in terms of practical implementation of what can be done. State government, I think most of the states in Nigeria, they have an agricultural development program, there can be pilot projects that can also be, deployed, even in local governments, and with that, we can scale that to every part of the country. So
surely there's scope for all of these to materialize and crystallize.
Absolutely.
All right, if you joined us midway, I've been chatting with Kolapo Ogungbile, who is Head of Innovation at Leon Energy and Solar Nova Energy. Kolapo, many thanks for joining us on the Global Business Report. We'll see you again very soon.
Thank you.